Welcome to the Heart of the Matter. Today we're answering 2 questions that came in from someone who's listened to the last podcast. So it is related to the last podcast. And I tend to answer these questions here because a lot of us will have the same questions and we're looking for an answer or answers. I am mindful to keep you, the person asking a question, via email or social media private. So your information is never going to get out there, right? Now, this person is someone who's got an anxious attachment and they have been in a long distance relationship for 2 years, and their partner has an avoidant attachment style. Now, this person recognizes the need for their partner's need for space, but they also admit that they need constant reassurance from this partner. Now, the person says, the question really is there not also a responsibility on the avoidant to let the anxious attached know when they need time and space, rituals of separation, especially when in a long-distance relationship, when body language is missing? All right. Now, the person goes on to say that generally what will happen is they'll send a text message and they won't get a response right away or within a few minutes. And so they would sit there for a few hours waiting for a response. Their partner will eventually get angry and push away, right? Now, is there a responsibility on the avoidant attached? It's a responsibility on all of us, including someone who's got an avoidant attachment, to work on our healing and how we communicate if we want to be in a happy, healthy relationship. Of course, it is our responsibility to evolve into what we really aspire to be. However, we cannot force a person into taking responsibility. What we can do is just hope that at some point they'll wake up and realize that their behaviors and their patterns they've not been serving them well, and they're going to feel the need to change. Now, if we're always there and accommodating their behaviors, if we're tolerating their behaviors and we have not changed ourselves, then they're just going to continue. See, this here is a cycle, because what happens is this person will get angry and I guess they're going to push away, but then come right back. Because if it's been a 2-year relationship, this is not the first time that person's doing it. So right now, their brain is in a space of knowing that, you know what, I can get upset and I'll get about my work and I'll get frustrated. And the avoidant attached will generally think, I don't have to put up with this. I could do better. I'm sure there's another person out there for me. And then that's the process, the first processing of the brain. And then the brain flips into, but it's a good person. We've been together. I know this person loves me. So why would I want to leave this person? I should try to work things out because I know I need to show up. I know how I should be in the relationship. However, it is difficult for me to do. And I'm hoping that my partner is going to recognize how difficult this is for me to do and give me some space. All right. So yes, it's everybody's responsibility to heal and show up in relationships as we know a partner will need, not one specific partner, but we know that we need to show up with empathy and care and respect and compassion, all of these lovely things. However, we cannot force another person's brain to adapt to a particular way because we think that's the way it should be, within 2 years or even 5 years or 10 years. They have to make this decision on their own. And why is it so hard for some people to do, even though they know it's what they should be doing? Well, depending on the age as well and what the belief systems are for this person, it's probably hardwired into them. I've had avoidant attached persons reach out and say, yes, I know I should change, but it is so scary because I don't know what happens when I do change. The question we want to ask ourselves, if you're an avoidant attached friend listening to this, is what's the worst that can happen? And I like to think of my 5-year-old self and my 50 or my 85-year-old self and ask, what would that person want me to do right now? What would my 85-year-old self want me to do? Would my 85-year-old self say, oh yeah, you did the best thing by staying safe, by not giving that thing a try? Or would my 85 self say, you know what? I'm running out of time here. Let's just make a jump and see what happens. The 5-year-old, we know, would just say, go for it. There is nothing to be afraid of when it comes to changing our behaviors. Absolutely nothing. What we want to do is try to make gentle changes and see what the outcome is going to be. And if you get rejected for trying to do something that you know is best for you, then the person who makes you feel rejected or the person who judges you or criticizes you, perhaps that's not a person who's supposed to be in your space. All right. We're all looking for people who are going to be respectful and kind to us. So give it a go. Now, back to the question of responsibility, whose responsibility it is. It is entirely up to all of us. And the moment we can recognize that we're responsible for our feelings, not theirs, then you're not going to be sitting around waiting for that text to come in. You're going to send a text off and then you get about your business. There should be so many things, and I've said this over and over again, there should be so many things happening in your life that would, stuff you with joy, that you don't need your partner to respond to you right away, and that should be a source of joy. Communication should just be that, like getting some message back and forth across. Hey, what are you doing for dinner? Do you want to catch up for dinner? Are we going to that movie this weekend? Would you like to go to a movie this weekend? What are we doing for the holidays? It's just communication should really just be about making plans, perhaps sending a meme or something to get that person to laugh, put them in a lighter note, maybe because you think about them. But I don't think communication, text messages especially I'm talking about, should be heavy conversations. The heavy conversations should probably be on the phone. And then again, we have to ask ourselves, what is it we need to talk about every day with a partner? Why do we feel the need to update that partner or find out exactly what they're doing absolutely every day? We want to get to a place where we're feeling connected to our partner without having to speak to them all the time. I don't know about you, but I've got friends in different countries and we don't communicate every day. There is a friend of mine I've not spoken to in about 1.5 years, but every now and again, she sends me some little reel or something on social media. It lets the other person know that you're still there. And I'm not saying you have to do that in your relationship, like give it 1.5 years. But what I'm saying is we feel very safe with our friendships. We know when our friendships are working. We know that we don't have to be in contact with a friend every day for us to be reassured that that person is still our friend. So when we're feeling this way with an intimate, a romantic partner, we've got to ask ourselves, like, what is it we're expecting this romantic partner to provide for us that's so different than a friendship or even, relationships with parents? There's so many people who don't talk to their parents absolutely every day. My kids and I, we don't talk to each other absolutely every day. We don't text each other absolutely every day. Yet I know that my kids are my kids. My partner and I, we don't do a whole ton of texting all the time. Sometimes we can go a day without texting each other, but you get that reel, you get that, some form of communication that says the person's still there. It is up to us to know that when we're in a relationship, we feel secure in that relationship. We don't need the other person to make us feel secure in the relationship. Right? And that comes from our healing. And it is very much linked to how much we've got going on. You see, the mind is going to try to scare us into believing that things that happened in the past can very well happen again. right? And so you've got to be able to get into your head and say, no, 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 that's an old script. I'm with this person. This person has shown me consistently that they love me. They have shown up for me, regardless of if they're close to where I live or if it's a long distance relationship. And I know long distance relationships are not easy. One of the things we want to ask ourselves about the long distance relationships is, why are we getting into them? Why are we getting into it? You know, a lot of times an anxious attached person will say, oh yeah, the avoidant attached got into it because, oh, it's safe for them. They're okay with, not being in an intimate relationship. They're afraid of vulnerability. Okay, fair enough. We know that about the avoidant attached. Now, why is the anxious attached doing the same thing? Is it possible that they too are afraid of being vulnerable? Is it possible that they too are setting themselves up for a failed relationship? Is it possible that they're getting into these relationships with the hope that that person is going to be their prince or princess charming and, cross the oceans to be with them and prove to them that, yes, I do love you? Is it our wounds, our unhealed emotional wounds that provokes us into seeking relationships that are going to be difficult? So, a lot of this comes from our healing. What exactly do we want? If we want a partner who is going to communicate more, why are we choosing the ones who don't? Right? I mean, we knew from the very beginning. I don't know if this particular case is someone who they were close, they were living together or living in the same proximity, and then one moved away from the other. Even then, it's something that, you would have had to accept that it was going to be difficult. A lot of times our pain comes from trying to control what another person does instead of us taking responsibility for what is and accepting it or choosing to walk away. I know that is never easy to hear. However, it is the only way we can take action. There is so much power in taking responsibility because, if I'm responsible for how I feel, if I'm sitting there waiting for their text message, that's on me. Then now I have control. Okay, do I want to sit here and keep waiting for their text? No. I want to get about my life. I want to go out with my friends. I want to do something else that I enjoy. I want to go to the gym. You get to take action so that you feel better. If you keep putting your happiness in someone else's control, then guess what? You're always going to be moving emotionally based on what they do. 1 minute you're going to be happy, 1 minute you're going to be sad, 1 minute you're going to be upset, and you feel like you have no control. So take back control. Now, there is another question from this person about being born prematurely, and could that have caused an anxious attachment? I believe it can cause an anxious attached baby and child and adult. I also believe that it can cause a person to be an avoidant attached person. Why is this so? You see, the anxious and avoidant attached, they both feel the same things. They're both afraid of the same things. They're both afraid of being abandoned, rejected, neglected, judged, and criticized. We're all, as humans, we don't like those feelings. What happens with a premature baby? Let's use our minds here. Let's try to put ourselves in the baby, in the fetus's position. You're not full term. Your mommy's body is not yet ready for you to come into the world. I don't know exactly what's going on in that baby's brain, but I'm going to imagine that it's feeling a little comfortable in mommy's tummy. Now, suddenly, it's pushed out into this world. It's not ready for it. It's maybe cells are not completely developed. And so the entire body of this organism is like, what the heck is going on here? We're not ready. We're not fully developed for this earth. I have got to figure out, all the cells are screaming, let's figure out how is it we're going to survive. And what happens when we're going to war? We're all anxious. Every cell is anxious. Every cell is like, all right, let's just find the best way to survive here. And the thing about being in the company of others, it's comforting. And if that baby is left in the hospital majority of the time alone, it's learning, that organism, that human being is learning how to survive on its own. And it can flip either one way, needing to be with people, eventually, like at times it's going to hear a nurse's voice, it's going to feel its mom's hand, and it longs for that when the mom pulls away or the nurse's voice stops. And so the organism's probably thinking, no, there was so much comfort in being touched. There was so much comfort in hearing this voice. Where did the voice go? I want it back. I want it back. And so it develops an anxiousness, an anxious attachment style. Now, if it's feeling mommy touching it and then pulling away and the voice of the nurse in and out, it may just start to think that, oh, I'm going to be left alone. I got to figure out how to do this on my own. And I'm talking about unconscious here, right? I'm just playing out a scenario. And it's probably going to, think, I've got to do this on my own. And it grows up believing that it's got to be independent. And it's got to learn how to take care of itself because it cannot depend on anyone to be there. And it can become an avoidant attached person. So yes, I do believe, but this is a personal opinion, I do believe that being born prematurely can have an effect on what our attachment style is. Remember that the attachment styles are born in our childhood depending on how we perceived we were cared for. If we felt like we were neglected, we can either start doing a whole lot more to get that attention that we once had and wanted, or we can move into someone who is more, see that nobody's ever really there or believe that nobody's ever really there. They come in and they go out. And now I've got to just fend for myself. So I do believe it being born prematurely plays a part in this. I hope I've been able to answer these questions adequately. If you've got a follow-up question, feel free to reach out to me. And until next time.